We got this story from the New York Times. What is dark woke? Democrats are trying on a new attitude. It's provocative, edgy, and perilously towing the line of not being too offensive. In other words, cringe. Cringe. Basically, the dark woke videos is literally just them cussing, like, because they don't understand authenticity. Quote, Republicans have essentially put Democrats in a respectability prison, says Bhavik Lathia, a communications consultant and former digital director for the Wisconsin Democratic Party. There's an extreme imbalance in strategy that allows Republicans to say stuff that really grabs voters' attention, where we're stuck saying boring pablum. I see this as a strategic shift within the Democratic messaging. I'm a big fan of dark woke. Okay, it's a dark woke. Okay, let me explain something to you. When I say something like, if I criticize Elon still follows me. And if I criticize a prominent conservative, they just debate me. But on the left, when you disagree with them, they destroy your life. So that means there's more opportunity for people on the right to experiment to say their ideas. Not even experiment, but someone on the right can say something like, I think we should build an alligator moat on the border. If a conservative came out right now and said, I'm dead serious, I want an alligator moat along the southern border, no one's going to cancel that person. If on the left, you said something more extreme, like we should just cut out all of the trans stuff because it's hurting us politically, they will cancel you. This is the problem with the left, not swearing. So now you got all these videos where like one woman screaming, this is bull, and she's in Congress saying BS over and over again. Like, that's not authenticity. They're trying to appear like they're normal people by swearing instead of just saying what people think. So I got to tell you, when people all kind of think something and you say it, they laugh and go, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. But if they're thinking of something and then you lie to them and then swear, they don't all of a sudden just agree with you.
One of the things that's a good point, a great point. You catch more flies with honey more than you do with vinegar.
You catch more flies with shit.
That's also probably true. I think. This is a fascinating thing about Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan's show. I watched about an hour of it. Is Jordan was saying he's thinking about tyranny a lot. And he's like, what's the opposite of tyranny? And he came up with, it's play. It's play. It's playing. That's where it's consensual. And it brings about this like kind of growth for people. Kids do it. And I think that's what's on the right in the conservative movement. It's fun. It's playful. Even Donald Trump is playful. He winks and points at people. He's not taking anything too seriously, like deathly serious, of course, deadly serious, because it's the world is prostrate in front of us Americans. We need to help, but they're also having fun. And in the left, in this other environment, it's like, it's just not okay to have fun right now because everybody's hurting and we need to just suffer with me, suffer. And bro, you need to get out of that tyrannical mindset.
They don't know how to relate. They're just so detached from the real world that this is the kind of stuff that they come up with. And it's usually a weird spin-off of like, Dark came from Dark Brandon. And then they took, or was it Dark Brandon?
Yeah.
And then but the conservative right came up with the dark thing. And then they took it and turned it.
Oh, Dark MAGA.
It was Dark MAGA.
Dark MAGA.
And then it became Dark Brandon.
Yep.
And they put the laser eyes on Joe Biden. And now they're turning it into Dark Woke. And they think that that's relatable.
Indeed, it's not.
We're going to say cuss words now.
This one was popular. Use it again.
Yeah.
No, it's not. You got to actually play. You got to show that there's joy at the other side of the road, man, or no one's going to walk it with you.
Don't know what joy is, though. That's the thing.
Like those people that they're like, aren't you feeling joy? Don't you feel the joy?
This
Praise God!
This is what I was saying about Jimmy Dore in the previous segment. He's right wing. It's like, why are the left call Jimmy Dore right?
Because he's outside their bubble.
Because he's talking about what is true and what is not. It's not about whether you're for laissez-faire capitalism or socialism or racial identitarianism or whatever, be it left or right or anti-white or pro-white. It's literally, do you march in lockstep with us or not? So to be authentic and on the right, you can literally give any opinion so long as your facts are rooted in reality, because that's what tethers the right together. Oh, yes, Trump did not say very fine people. You know, he didn't call Nazis very fine people. That never happened. You can then criticize him saying, I don't think he did enough in response to this. And the response from a conservative is going to say, well, I disagree. I think he did what he could by condemning it and people are allowed to protest. No, you're wrong. But we agree on what the fact is. And the fact is Trump never said that. To the left, how do you have an authentic conversation when you have to maintain lies and everyone else knows you're lying? You're going to come out and say, Trump was wrong for saying Nazis are fine people. And they're going to go, he never said that. whoa, you're a right wing. Why are you defending Trump? And it's like, because this is not true.
Well, that's what I was asking about with that first guy that was on recorded for O'Keefe Media, is when he says what he says about Trump fixing the election, or he was trying to overthrow the election. He's taking a narrative that was all agreed upon on that side and feeding it some more. And that's why I'm like, do they just have a psychological thing in them that says, okay, this is the narrative now, and I will stick with it, even in personal one-on-one conversations, and we'll just keep pretending that this is the narrative? Or how does it get there? You know what I mean?
I think that's it. I think that's it.
They just slide into the
this is
narrative
where
and
I
go.
get my food from, so I'm going to defend anything they tell me to say.
This guy's just trying to get laid.
There's that too.
Yeah.
We talked
Imagine talking about subverting the will of the American people and potentially committing crimes because you're trying to hook up with some chick.
Hey, baby. Yeah.
Hey, that's the joke about James O'Keefe. We always bring up, it's like these guys think they're going to get some by going like, hey, you want to hear about some corporate malfeasance I'm involved in?
Yeah.
And no?
I think it's like a form of, I don't know if psychopathy is the right word, psychopathy. It's a buzzword these days, Jordan talking about psychopaths, but that we
He's
as
just
humans,
talking about Candace Owens and he's mad at her.
we got to get into like states of psychopathy to do certain behaviors like wartime, war fighting. If you believe your neighborhood is going to be destroyed by some external tribe and they're going to kill everyone you know and you have to go fight them. That's ancient history, and you have to be the most ruthless, aggressive to stop it. And that is like, you got to switch your brain and be like, they're bad. What I am is good because it will preserve life. And that phenomenon still exists in humanity. And I think it's showing up in people like this. They're like, they create this narrative or narrative is foisted upon them. And then they think this good and evil binary, fight or flight. It's like it's a very primal.
Yeah. Well, a lot of what happened and where we're at now with stuff like this is, you mentioned Jimmy Dore. He became right throughout COVID, and that Nazi narrative came out through COVID. It was hammered every day. If you don't adhere to the COVID narrative, then you are on that side. And that side turned into conservative right wing. And so I can tell you from going to so many rallies and events that were against those times. Those events were filled with people from every side of the coin, and it was a mix of people. It wasn't a conservative right event. It was Democrats, libertarians, right? We said we're coming together for a common cause.
But the left is dictating who is, or in this context, the left is dictating who is and is not a right wing, and essentially, they're just saying that it's people that don't align with us, that don't follow our, whether it be the or liberal orthodoxy, like Tim talks about, or whether it's the they don't follow the same kind of lockstep with the same kind of ideas and stuff. That's why you saw people at these rallies that were so very different, politically, from different backgrounds. It was just someone that stepped out of line. And so now Jimmy Dore steps out of line. So they say, you're other, you're outside of, you're not in our in-group anymore, so we'll call you all the names. Right. But there's no substance to anything they're talking about.
So what's the question is, where does that come from? What's the genesis of that when those narratives come through? Who came up with dark woke?
Someone who's an idiot.
That came from somewhere, though, right? And every time it comes from
it came from the Dark Brandon memes. Mm-hmm. They thought that apparently they feel like that worked.
It's just derivative. It was Dark MAGA and it was Trump with glowing red eyes, and they were like, "Yeah, well, we're Dark Brandon, and now it's Dark Woke." They're just ripping off the right every day. Yeah. What people need to realize is that the left didn't know how to meme. Like when memes emerged, it was all right wing, because right wing people didn't care about offending anybody to a certain degree that Democrats were too afraid to offend people. So this means that online, people were making Pepe memes, and some were extremely offensive intentionally, and people thought it was funny to be shockingly offensive. And the left was like, we can't do that. We can't do that. So then all the memes started emerging, came out of 4chan, and the Donald was the name of the subreddit. That's where memes were largely originating from. The left has started to learn how to meme a little bit by attacking the right. But it is derivative of memes the right created a long time ago. Like Wojaks, for instance, were a 4chan thing largely, and they're now trying to adopt that It's all derivative. They can't come up with anything original. They are NPC Muppets that are struggling to figure out what they represent. And that's why the party has no leadership.
Yeah, if you ask someone to prove some of the stuff they say about Trump and they have to, their evidence is the TV told me, that's not very good. And I think what's happening is they're defending what they think is the American way of life, whatever. They think that if we just hold on to this narrative that we're being told, everything will continue on as normal. But like, do you think we can have American hegemony, or maybe even should, in a world where we don't control and manipulate people with the media aggressively like they have been for 100 years? Can we? Mm-hmm. A genuine question to all you guys. I don't know if without manipulating the populace to fall in line, can you actually have statehood hegemony across the planet?
Well, you need, it used to be church. The church was largely aligned and everybody went to church. So they lived in a similar moral worldview. Now with mass media, you had the big broadcast towers and everyone lived in a similar moral worldview. There were a lot of voices and dissidents. They just didn't have an opportunity to broadcast. They'd flyer and stuff. But now we're in the decentralized media space, and creepos and crackpots are finding ways to build community and spread a message that is disruptive to the United States. The problem the U.S. has is that, you know, when we were hearing about this narrative about Russia and how it was propping up Trump in this first term, largely not true. And I'd say arguing based on the evidence from the DOJ and all that stuff that the Democrats were putting out. $100,000 in total was spent on trying to influence various people, and they had a few Facebook pages that weren't particularly successful. However, the U.S. is inundated by a general mass influx from global voices. So how does most of the world feel about a certain issue? They'll go on X, you won't know they're not American, and they'll tell you, and people are starting, because of X, to align their opinions with a global or international opinion as opposed to an American one. But Trump and Trump's base has largely been resistant of that. And so that's why we're seeing this pushback. A reason I think if you were to actually break it down and you went to like Hassan Piker, for instance, I'd be willing to bet he has a larger percentage of foreign followers than, say, Steven Crowder does. Steven Crowder's followers are probably almost entirely American, and Hassan probably has a decent spattering of European, Canadian, Middle Eastern followers as well. Especially with the Israel commentary that he has, I'd be willing to bet that he's got a substantial portion of his viewerships coming from the Middle East, from like Arabic and Muslim nations.
Hassan is his name, he's Turkish, I think, descent. So maybe there's that too. Total assumption. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.